How's it going, brother?
How's it going, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Just sharing the link
Bit of
around to a
a
couple of places.
bit of an aggressive start. I love it
Huh.
though. It's free copyrights. It's copyright safe too.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
I use a lot of royalty-free music for the little projects that I occasionally throw together here. Um,
I just sent you a link
oh,
on Discord.
Miss Luck, I am so sorry. I keep forgetting that I've got those that I need to take a look at that. Um, so yes, don't fear to occasionally poke me in the nose and remind me, hey, I'm waiting for your feedback on something here, because that is something that I promised I would do for you. And I try to hold myself responsible for the promises I give to fellow creatives. It's not good for me to say I'll do that and then not do it.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, you gotta take into account. Life also happens. We're not perfect.
I know, and I appreciate that, you know, people are
Sorry to
fair
hear
with
that,
me when it
Vicky.
comes to that.
Hope you get to feeling better soon.
And I know how you feel, Vicky. I woke up this morning only able to breathe out of my right nostril, and
Oh God, I hate that.
yep, I've got mucus and back up and headache from hell. But thankfully, I have Tylenol and Robitussin, and I've popped a couple of Dayquil, so
You
should
got
be
the
okay.
ickies.
Oh yeah, not feeling the greatest, but you know what? It's
Sounds like you
that's
need a visit from
fun.
the plague doctor.
No, fuck him. He can stay away. He needs to stay away. All the fuck the way away. This goddamn mask.
He's gonna be like, "Oh, let me cure you. You're the pestilence." Oh
You
man,
are the pestilence. I have found the source of it. Now I need only grab my tool.
that he
You
conjures
know,
out of his skin.
but and I'm curious how that works because I've read a couple of different documents that in one of them he he opens up his cloak and reaches in, and initially there's nothing there, and as he reaches in, a handle for a old-fashioned doctor's bag manifests in his hand, and he just pulls the bag out of empty space.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, so is he an anomaly or a cartoon character? Because I've seen plenty of Bugs Bunny where he's done that shit over the years.
Yeah, I would say he's an anomaly,
Well, right.
but I mean, to
Certainly.
be fair, yeah, I don't know, because there's been instances where they've shot him and he has bled, but he hasn't died.
Right, like they can wound him,
Yeah,
but he doesn't go down and he doesn't stay down.
no. So we're gonna get into SCP-106, the old man. Very nasty fellow, as you probably seen in the thumbnail.
Right. When it comes to the artwork for the foundation, there are some extremely talented people who've been working hand in hand with the SCP Wiki and with the community um, that has gathered around this set of
There's our
mythology
fellow
and
there.
lore. Yeah, there are some brilliantly talented people, and some of the imagery reminds me a little bit of those old anthology books, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark,
Hmm.
um, which I remember reading as a kid. They were fantastic little anthologies. But I also always remember thinking the stories themselves were not that great or not all that terrifying, but the artwork, the imagery attached to it was always some of the most bladder relaxingly terrifying material I'd ever laid eyes upon. And it just set your
Scuba says,
teeth
looks
on
like my
edge.
ex. Yeah, SCP-106, man. He's a scary one for sure. I would not want to be the unlucky person that would run into him.
No, no, definitely not. I did a little brushing up over the last couple of days, listening to a couple of videos that center around the old man, including a kind of a potential origin point story about the old man, which has been subtitled "The Young Man," regarding the possibility of him having been at one point a World War I soldier.
Yep.
But even that is shrouded by all kinds of speculation and non-specific details that are kind of sketchy, but can definitely lead one to believe that it's very possible we have the first incarnation of the old man coming from the First World War era.
Yeah, he was like he has his like own like pocket like universe or dimension that he traps his victims in.
It's
It's
it's it's more like
rather
a personalized hunting ground,
yeah, personalized hunting ground, but more like a personalized hell.
right? And one almost wonders, well, is that where he goes to just relax when he's not in our world and devouring or destroying someone? You know, like if you went into that place, would you find a Barca lounger and a CRT television just sat in some weird little living room, and he just goes, I've done my killing for the day. Time to watch the 11 o'clock news."
Well, he does eat his victims, so
True.
yep. And it doesn't matter how old or how sick or whatever. Does not matter.
No, he's not picky
No.
about his potential prey.
Yep. SCP-106, the old man. We're gonna get into a video with him here in a moment. Just kind of showing him off, showcasing him to everybody to get an idea of what he looks like.
Sure, sure.
And oh man, that's a pretty scary photo there. Hold up.
Really.
It brings up the whole World War One thing we were just talking about, his origin.
Yeah, that was the image that I saw associated quite frequently with the young man origin story.
Mhm.
Um, Although what I had seen were illustrations, I had not seen an actual like still photo or something photorealistic. But there's definitely something not quite settled about that smile.
No.
Bear in mind, anybody who has had first-hand experience in any kind of war type setting, I imagine that their mind is not exactly functioning in the quote unquote standard array as it is. So, is it possible this was a creature birthed out of some form of war trauma? Could very well be. We've no idea just how broken the human mind can become based upon the traumas and the horrors of war. Not everybody survives it and does as well with it as someone like uh, uh, Tolkien, who was a World War One veteran and went on after he returned home, to the home front afterwards. Not broken in mind or even in spirit, but inspired to try and create his own world as a result of the things that he witnessed in warfare.
Right. The young man, origin of SCP-106. I see what you're talking about. The animated tales from yeah.
Yeah, and he's got that kind of almost yellow coloration.
Mhm.
Yeah, from the Exploring series. That's definitely an excellent video to serve as kind of a backdrop to what came before the current state of the old man. And because I am a nerd and because one would not expect anything less from me, I found myself curious and I decided to go poking around in some of my own library of mythology to see if there's anything I could find similar to the old man based on basic descriptions. And I may well have come across something here in uh, one of my tomes. This is from the Epic Tales collection by Firetree Publishing. They put together these epic mythology collections, and this is from the Native American myths and tales. Came across a story that has shades of similarity, and I'll touch upon that later on as we go.
Okay. So here we have SCP-106. He is classified as a Keter anomaly and/or entity.
And just to do a quick, brief review, we touched upon this last week, and
Hmm.
we'll once again do as a refresher. There are in the older SCP Wiki classification system, there are three basic degrees of classification, and it's based upon the difficulty involved or the complexity required in containing these anomalies. There's safe, which means it's relatively simple. This is usually reserved for instances of technology or items that are non-sentient and do not have their own mode of locomotion, that do not have a sentience or a personal will to enact its own anomalous effects upon the world. So, anomalous technologies, relics, artifacts, weapons, what have you. Then there is Euclid classification.
Hmm.
Euclid classification anomalies require a mild or moderate degree of control and specific either ritualistic maneuvers or very specific types of materials required to construct a containment cage or chamber in which to house these anomalous entities or events. And then there's the highest degree, the most dangerous, which is Keter. Keter is the most complicated requirement set of either regulations or materials and methodologies that one must deploy in order to keep the event or the object or the organism contained within the bounds of an SCP Foundation facility in order to keep them trapped and not breached and loose out in amongst the world and broader public. So it's safe, Euclid, and Keter. There has been a new kind of chart that they've been put forward that includes types of dangers like cognito hazard, material hazard. You can see that they're just from what Brother Cortex is showing, the disruption classifications.
Yeah.
Um, there was one other one that I had forgot to mention before that stems from the original core set of the wiki, and that is neutralized. Now, 9 times out of 10, if an SCP anomaly was neutralized in the original or in the older lore, it was an instance where the Foundation had no other choice, no other option available to them than to put paid permanently to these organisms, to these anomalous beings, where they had become such an active hazard and were trying to go out of their way to destroy human life that they had to be terminated, also referred to amongst the Foundation as neutralized.
Indeed. Yeah, no, I've seen this look. And you know what? I don't care that they're in chat. They're welcome just like anybody else. I'm not gonna knock anybody that wants to tune in. If they have questions, they're more than welcome to. So with that being said,
Oh,
you know,
I like these charts, these
oh yeah.
visuals. This is really nice. Oh, one other instance in which one other thing circumstance where neutralized tended to come up in the older lore of the SCP was if the GOC got involved in an anomalous event or with an anomalous creature, it tended to end up with a result of being neutralized. The GOC being the Global Occult Coalition, which is another organization of interest in the SCP Foundation wiki and lore.
Yeah, I
I'm
gotta
not sure. I'm not
get
sure where you
involved
stand
and
on.
try to figure out all these different like groups that were, you know, like you have the SCP Foundation, then you have the what was it?
The GOC, the Global Occult Coalition.
GOC,
You've
but
got
you also have the it was like chaos something like
the
chaos.
Chaos Insurgency,
There you
and then
go.
you have
Yeah.
the Serpent's Hand. Then you also have the Fifth Church. You have the Church of the Broken God. You also have the UIU, which is the Unusual Incidents Unit, which is a subsection of the FBI, which I would posit is their attempt at the SCP wiki for the Foundation to try and wrap in something akin
How's it
to the
going,
X
Jasmine?
Files.
Yeah. We'll have to break down all these different groups in a different one
Yeah, definitely.
and like their involvement.
Yep. That tends to be where that was actually where I first found myself diving deeper down the rabbit hole, was trying to figure out, well, how do these organizations intersect, and what is the where does their conflict come in with the Foundation? And the Chaos Insurgency, for instance, was originally a splinter cell of the Foundation itself. It was a handful of MTFs, or mobile task forces, who decided that they weren't fond of the concept of maintaining the masquerade. And the masquerade is the policy of the Foundation to keep humanity, keep mankind, on the whole, behind the veil of ignorance about these anomalous creatures, events, and instances. And they refer to in several documents something known as a masquerade breaking incident. It's when something happens that is so overt and obvious and beyond the control of the Foundation that it breaks the wall of illusion and makes mankind as a general populace aware of the nature of anomalous events and creatures.
Right. So, like, in other words, like SCP is basically the Men in Black. And,
Yep.
the Chaos Insurgency is like, yeah, no, screw your neutralizer pen, and we're going to show everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. So, with that being said, we've already pretty much covered some concept of what the old man looks like, and we're not exactly entirely going to spoil what he's capable of. We'll let this video roll, and we'll show you what he's capable of. So, without further ado, everybody, here we go.
Description: SCP-106 appears to be an elderly humanoid with a general appearance of advanced decomposition. This appearance may vary, but the rotting quality is observed in all forms. SCP-106 is not exceptionally agile and will remain motionless for days at a time, waiting for prey. SCP-106 is also capable of scaling any vertical surface and can remain suspended upside down indefinitely. When attacking, SCP-106 will attempt to incapacitate prey by damaging major organs, muscle groups, or tendons, then pull disabled prey into its pocket dimension. SCP-106
I just mentioned the pocket dimension that he has. In other words, his own designed personal hell for you.
Yep. His own little labyrinth.
Yeah.
appears to prefer human prey.
Yeah, he's basically the boogeyman. A very big time boogeyman.
Items in the 10.
And regarding the pocket dimension, I want to come back to that in a little bit because it will segue and spiral me off into a subset of things for us to touch upon, including other references to lore outside of SCP that I would like to definitely talk to you about because of an intersection of reference that you and Mr. Reactions and Reviews once made, without, I don't think, understanding that you'd made the reference.
Really?
Yes. We'll come back to that.
Okay. Appreciate the love there, Jasmine. She says, smash that like, guys. Make sure you subscribe for more, and definitely don't forget that notification bell. Love and appreciate you. Well, we love you too, Jasmine. Thank you for being here. As with all of you. All right, here we go, everybody.
To 25 years of age bracket. SCP-106 causes a corrosion effect in all solid matter it touches, engaging a physical breakdown in materials several seconds after contact. This is observed as rusting, rotting, and cracking of materials, and the creation of a black mucus-like substance, similar to the material coating SCP-106. This effect is particularly detrimental to living tissues and is assumed to be a pre-digestion action. Corrosion continues for 6 hours after contact, after which the effect appears to burn out. SCP-106 is capable of passing through solid matter, leaving behind a large patch of its corrosive mucus. SCP-106 is able to vanish inside solid matter, entering what is assumed to be a form of pocket dimension. SCP-106 is then able to exit this dimension from any point connected to the initial entry point. Examples: entering the inner wall of a room and exiting the outer wall, entering a wall and exiting from the ceiling.
Could you imagine him just like, crawling his way through a wall and looking at you with that smile?
I easily could.
Like, what would you do?
Well, the first thing I might do, just because I have a morbid sense of humor, might be to say, all right, now say for me, here's Johnny. Or I might ask him if he had a contract with Warner Brothers Studios so that he could go back in time and explain how it is that Bugs Bunny jumped into those holes that you would throw on the wall.
I think that's where you would definitely ask where my brown pants are.
Get me my brown pants.
It is unknown if this is the point of origin for
What's
SCP-106
good, British
or a
Bulldog?
simple lair created by SCP-106. Limited observation of this pocket dimension has shown it to be comprised mostly of halls and rooms with entry. This activity can continue for days, with some subjected individuals being released for the express purpose of hunting, recapture. Special Containment Procedures. Revision 11-6. No physical interaction with SCP-106 is allowed at any time. All physical interaction must be approved by no less than 2/3 vote from the O5 command and may only extend to testing situations. All staff are to remain at least 20 meters away from the containment cell at all times, except for mandated maintenance and re-evaluation checks. Containment cell must be held suspended in a secondary cell, the walls of which must be at least 30 meters distance from the outer walls of the first or primary cell. The second cell is to remain under total observation at all times, and be both illuminated and clear of any and all debris. Any items, movement, or non-normal activity noted within the secondary cell will result in a full site lockdown. Lockdown will be maintained until a situation normal dispatch is issued by Site Command. Any corrosion observed on the primary cell, secondary cell, staff members, or other site locations within 200 meters of SCP-106 are to be reported to site security immediately. Any objects or personnel lost to SCP-106 are to be deemed missing, KIA. No recovery attempts are to be made under any circumstances.
Yeah, so in other words, he captures you, there's no going back. You're gone. Bye-bye.
You are considered lost in action. Now, a quick side observation and question that would, I imagine, render some folks to kind of cringe a little bit. But it is mentioned that SCP-106 can pass through any solid matter.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't human beings considered solid matter?
Correct.
So do you think someone could feel him crawling around inside their own skin if he were to pass through them?
I feel like he would possibly fuse with your body and then kill you from the inside out.
Right, like he would pass in the front of you, and then as he came out the back, he would just explode like the head of someone from Scanners.
Probably. Either that, or he would probably digest you from the inside out, considering the mucus.
Yeah, that'd be one hell of a way to go.
Yeah, like, in other words, it would be like you would be melting, like somebody literally had acid, like you just drunk a whole gallon of acid and it just come pouring out of every orifice.
Right, they just say, you know what, you're going to chug Drano.
Pretty much. Yeah, that'd be really bad. And I can't really even say that's even like the exact like comparison is like acid and mucus. Because to be fair, like they even said like rusting, rotting. I mean, we really don't know what would actually happen to the person. But I couldn't imagine it being very good.
No, probably not.
Yeah, it'd be very bad.
That'd be very bad. Okay.
It'd be pretty bad. Okay.
If you explode somebody from the inside out, you're a bad person. Okay.
Whoa.
Whoa! Wait a
Could you
minute. You mean to
imagine?
tell me he rust you out from the inside out?
Could you
Whoa!
could you imagine like Hank and like Bill and everybody outside drinking beer and just SCP-106? He just like pews through like the fence, and he would like
That's
go
got to be
inside like Bill.
that's got to be a very handy skill set if you're trying to get some bugs out from underneath the house. I'd like to get him on a temporary contract to work for me. Hank, you think you can hand him a beer? Let's talk business.
Pretty much. And then you have Boom Arm like, yeah, man, Dingo, that guy's freaking weird, man.
Really weird, man.
Just Dingo, not good, man.
I'd like to think that
Note.
he's just not understood very well. Damn it, Bill. He's not misunderstood. He's a creature from another reality. He's here to eat your face and take your soul.
Could you
Get him
imagine?
the hell out of here.
He like passes through like Bobby. He's like, I'm okay, Dad.
It's all right, Dad. I don't have a soul anyway.
I'm weak, bro. I'm weak.
It's a hell of a fusion the way we've thrown together here. King
Yeah.
of the Hill and SCP Foundation. What is wrong with us?
The NTF just drop in. They're like, where do we begin? Who do we even contain? Do we contain everybody at this point?
Yeah, just the entire town of Arlington. It's just nope. We're gonna secure a perimeter around the entire township.
Yeah, all of Arlen. Pretty sure Arlen's a fictional town anyway.
Arlen, not Arlington. I'm thinking of the city in Virginia. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Arlen just happened to pop up in Texas. But we're going to pass it off as normal.
Oh, completely, yes.
SCP-106 does not have a docile state. Any reduction in activity or increased compliance from SCP-106 is deemed to be a luring tactic, immediately preceding an aggressive action and is treated as such. Note: SCP discontinued due to escape percentage. Revision 11-7. No physical interaction with SCP-106 is allowed at any time. All physical interactions must be approved by no less than a 2/3 vote from O5 Command and may only extend to testing situations. All staff are to remain at least 30 meters away from the containment cell at all times, except under direct order from Site Command. SCP-106 is to be kept within a sealed container comprised of 16 layers of lead-lined steel, each separated by no less than 18 centimeters of open space aside from minimal support struts. Said container is to be kept suspended by a continuous current system within a fluid medium. This medium is to be replaced in 48-hour cycles and constantly monitored for any corrosion intrusion. Any corrosion observed on any containment cell surfaces, staff members, or other site locations within 200 meters of SCP-106 are to be reported to site security immediately. Any objects or personnel lost to SCP-106 are to be deemed missing KIA. No recovery attempts are to be made under any circumstances. SCP-106 does not have a docile state. Any reduction in activity or increased compliance from SCP-106 is to be deemed a luring tactic, immediately preceding an aggressive action and treated as such. Note: observation of SCP.
Wow. Wow. That is some maintenance.
So effectively, if it seems like he's being suddenly very quiet, get away because it's just planning to eat your face.
Mm-hmm. He's definitely up to something. Yeah. I wonder, do you think you could even like potentially harm or disrupt or even remotely kill SCP-106?
I think there are other anomalous events or anomalous creatures that could potentially not kill him, not destroy him, but temporarily at least remove him from the field of play. Such as the creature referred to as the deer. which is a a demigod class creature in the SCP universe. It is a reality bender type organism that is able to temporarily shunt consciousnesses off into their own pocket space that ends up rendering the living being itself catatonic. So I don't know if that would necessarily kill SCP-106, but it may temporarily at least deactivate him. But that would be my
Because
best guess.
yeah, I was just trying to figure that out because considering solid matter would like basically just be eroded or corroded rather.
Right. It was the sort of thing where you would need to temporarily shut down the consciousness of 106.
P106 has shown a slight resistance when passing through lead or other similar metals. The thickness of the material appears to make no difference. In addition, multiple layers of thin material appear to slow SCP-106, forcing it to enter and re-emerge multiple times. Fluids also appear to temporarily confuse SCP-106. Note: SCP discontinued due to multiple surface breaches. Agitation system continued to disperse corrosion during breach event, resulting in multiple breaches and full containment failure.
Oh boy.
Revision 11-8.
Oh boy. Not good. Not
No,
good at all.
effectively, what it seems like they're saying is when SCP-106 comes in contact with a fluid layer, rather than being completely stumped, it will eventually spread its corrosion rather, through the fluid that is acting as a medium, sort of like dispersing the effect and spreading it around, rather than putting a stop to it.
So kind of like white blood cells in a way.
Similar. It's I would think of it more as rather than actually cleaning up the problem, you're just smearing it around.
Oh, okay. I was trying to think like maybe like it adapted to it and then
Well, that's what I think
Yeah.
they're referring to, is the fact that at first it stands as kind of like, oh, it's a stumper. What do I do here? Well, wait a minute. It's like mixing two fluids that don't actually intertwine.
like water and oil.
Like oil and water.
Yeah.
You start off with just one clumpy little pool, and as it spends more time in the water, it separates out into lots of little blobs that can then attach to solid surfaces and spread out from there. You're not cleaning the problem, you're just thinning it out and spreading it around.
Right. Well, basically he finger painted.
No physical interaction with SCP-106 is allowed at any time. All physical interaction must be approved by no less than a 2/3 vote from O5 Command. Any such interaction must be undertaken in AR-2 maximum security sites after a general non-essential staff evacuation. All staff are to remain at least 60 meters away from the containment cell at all times, except in the event of breach events. SCP-106 is to be contained in a sealed container comprised of lead-lined steel. The container will be sealed within 40 layers of identical material, each layer separated by no less than 36 centimeters of empty space. Support struts between layers are to be randomly spaced. Container is to remain suspended no less than 60 centimeters from any surface by ELO-IID electromagnetic supports. Secondary containment area is to be comprised of 16 spherical cells, each filled with various fluids and a random assembly of surface and supports. Secondary containment is to be fitted with light systems capable of flooding the entire assembly with no less than 80,000 lumens of light, instantly, with no direct human involvement. Both containment areas are to remain under 24-hour surveillance. Any corrosion observed on any containment cell surfaces, staff members, or other site locations within 200 meters of SCP-106 are to be reported to site security immediately. Any objects or personnel lost to SCP-106 are to be deemed missing KIA. No recovery attempts are to be made under any circumstances. Note:
That is insane.
continued research and observation have shown that when faced with highly complex random assemblies of structures, SCP-106 can be confused, showing a marked delay on exit and entry from said structure. SCP-106 has also shown an aversion to direct sudden light. This is not manifested in any form of physical damage, but a rapid exit into the pocket dimension generated on solid surfaces. These observations, along with those of lead aversion and liquid confusion, have reduced the general escape incidence by 43%. The primary cells have also been effective in recovery incidents requiring recall protocol. Observation is ongoing. Addendum. SCP Review Notes. Due to the exceedingly difficult to contain nature of SCP-106, SCP is to be reviewed every 3 months or during a post-breach incident. Physical restraints are impossible, and direct physical damage appears to have no effect on SCP-106.
We were just talking about that.
You know, the fact that physical damage doesn't seem to slow him down or stop him in any meaningful way.
Man, you could have literally SCP, like, Foundation Security, even MTF, trying to, like, mow him down. It would do absolutely nothing.
Right, no. Puts me in mind almost of something akin to the T-1000 from Terminator 2, where
Yeah.
because it's a liquid metal, every time you take a shot at it, sure, you can cause momentary physical damage, but eventually he will coalesce back together into his original solid state.
Mm-hmm. In other words, you're donezo.
Yep, you're pretty well fucked. I'll be right back. Just gotta hit the loo.
You're good. I was just placing me a DoorDash order. Kind of hungry. So how's everybody doing so far? How are we doing today? See, we had Jasmine up in here, British Bulldog, Scuba. No, we had Miss Luck up in here. Miss Dude, I see you in here. Vicky Newman. I'm making a pie. What kind of pie? Pot pie? Blueberry pie? Apple pie? Cherry pie? Some kind of pie? Oh, give me 1 second, everybody. I'll be right back.
Sure thing. So everybody in the chat, how are you all doing today? Scuba, I wish I had the appetite for pie right now. I haven't got much of an appetite for anything other than coffee, cold medicine, and my cigarettes. Banana cream. Banana, 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 banana. Anyway, minions. So, just going to take a moment while Brother Cortex is stepped aside. We are going to be doing, or at least our plan is to do another SCP show tomorrow. We haven't got everything solidified yet, but the current game plan, as it presently sits, is on Wednesday mornings, at around 10:30. I will be doing my live streams on Rumble for the Storyteller's Corner. Talking about narrative, talking about fiction, the publishing industry, sharing stories of my own fiction material. And originally, I was going to continue to do that on Wednesdays and Thursdays. But because so much of my time is required to actually write these stories in order to have material ready and available to share, I didn't want to burn myself too close to the source, too close to the wick. So tentatively, what we're looking at right now is on Wednesdays, I live stream on Rumble at around 10:30, and Thursdays and Fridays will be Brother Cortex and myself touching upon the SCP Foundation materials.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of the tentative program scheduling for the time being. We haven't firmed anything up in terms of putting together a routine or regular schedule. in large part because in about a month and a half, 2 months, I will not be available for much of anything once my wife and I welcome our little girl to the world.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you very much. This will be our last kiddo. Um, so, there's a bittersweetness there to it, but I'm 41 years old. I don't need to be sprogging out more kids. This my sons and my last daughter, unfortunately, are going to have the old dad situation to deal with when they get older.
Current SCP, as of
Like, my dad can beat up your dad. Your dad doesn't have to beat up our dad. Just hit him once in the hip and he's going down.
revolves around basic observation and immediate response. Previous, more proactive special containment procedures have been recalled due to the events of breaches and notes on behavior. SCP-106 appears to go through long periods of dormancy in which it will remain completely motionless for up to 3 months. The cause for this is unknown. However, it has been shown that these appears to be used as a lulling tactic. SCP-106 will emerge from this state in a very agitated state and will attack and abduct staff and cause gross damage to its containment cell and the site at large. Recall Protocol: SCP-106 appears to hunt and attack based on desire, not hunger. SCP-106 will attack.
Yeah, so like he just said, this is out of desire, not hunger, but he does eat people.
Right. Which leaves one wondering if the entity does not have a required or fixed digestion schedule, then one cannot be certain when it will decide to strike.
No, it would be very spontaneous. It could happen at any moment.
Right, and like with this tendency to go dormant for long stretches of time, we've already established that is by and large a luring tactic. So this creature is always on the ready for a hunt, no matter what the circumstances.
Yep. He just flat out enjoys it.
And collect multiple prey items during a hunting behavior event, keeping many alive in the pocket dimension for extended periods of time. SCP-106 has no determinable limit and appears to collect a random number of prey items during an event. The inner dimension accessed by SCP-106 appears to be only accessible by SCP-106. Recordings and transmission devices have been shown to still operate inside the dimension, though recordings and transmissions are very degraded. It appears that SCP-106 will play with captured prey and appears to have full control of time, space, and perception inside the dimension. SCP-106 appears. Recall Protocol: in the event of a breach event by SCP-106, a human with.
That can't be good.
Nope, that's all right. This person, wave goodbye to them. Hope you didn't know them too well. They are food now. Have a good day.
In the 10 to 25 years of age bracket will be prepped for recall, with the comprised containment cell being replaced and restored for use. When the cell is ready, the lure subject will be injured, preferably via the breakage of a long bone, such as the femur, or severing of a major tendon, such as the Achilles tendon. Lure subject will then be placed in the prepped cell, and the sound emitted by said subject will be transmitted over the site public address system. SCP-106 will typically begin to gravitate towards the lure subject within 10 to 15 minutes after hearing the subject. Should SCP-106 not respond to the initial broadcast, additional physical trauma is to be administered to the lure subject at 20-minute intervals until SCP-106 responds. Multiple lure subjects may be used in the case of a major breach events. SCP-106.
Oh my god.
Yep, I remember coming across this as I was watching it a couple days ago, and this led me to think to myself, all right, there is a reason why many people who become involved or dive down the rabbit hole with regards to the SCP Foundation material The Foundation does garner for itself a reputation for being too cold, clinical, detached, and in some cases, cruel, unusual, and seemingly on the border of inhumane.
Yeah.
Because what they have just said, what they admit here in their documentation, is that every now and again they will, in order to attempt to maintain or fix the uncertain containment cell structure for this anomalous creature, they will sacrifice a 10 to 25-year-old individual in the hopes that it will distract the creature long enough for them to fix its containment cell. That's a
It's horrible.
inhuman action to take. However, one does have to consider what is the other scenario is if you allow this creature to get back out into the broader world. It raises the ethical question of, is this so cruel and inhumane that it should never be done? Or given the possibility and potential of the mass casualty events and damage this creature could do in the wider world, do you accept the horrific thing that the Foundation has to do in order to keep it contained? This is
Yeah.
it's an ethical quandary. I could not answer this question for anyone else. We're almost looking at a trolley problem kind of situation.
You're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I don't think it would matter. Yeah, I genuinely don't think it would matter. Like, you literally would just be kind of stuck with, well, I guess I'm going to either burn in hell this way or that way.
Right. It's like, okay, I have to choose whether to be a terrible human being and sacrifice someone between the ages of 10 and 25 to this creature, or I let it go and it kills somebody anyway at
Well,
random.
multiple people.
At random.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, let's not forget the fact of what he does to people. He takes them to their pocket, to his pocket dimension, and from then on out, you don't know what he does.
Nope. And I bring up the trolley problem in reference or in regards to this because you do end up with kind of, like I said, that ethical dilemma of, do you allow it to free source select its own victims randomly as often as it wants, or do you make the hard choice and sacrifice some one person for the good of the greater whole? That is an unfortunately utilitarian response. And
Mm-hmm.
utilitarianism or pragmatism, when expanded to a broader window of conjecture, becomes the worst
God.
possible situation.
Could you imagine being in that scenario and watching this go down? As
No,
this
I don't
person
want to
is like
consider it.
screaming and pleading as this dark figure drags him into a pocket dimension.
Right? Like, I personally find utilitarianism as a response to be gravely unethical in across the long span of time. But we are dealing with a situation where you may have to suck it up because the utilitarian response in this instance, because of the specifics
Man.
involved, requires that utilitarian response.
I
Because
think
any other
making
response
that
you have,
decision alone, I don't know how you could actually live with yourself.
well, right, again, this is an ethical, moral
Yeah.
compass quandary.
Like,
You have to decide:
oh
do
my
do
God,
I
bro.
accept the sin on my soul, the dark stain on my soul of handing over a victim to this creature, or do I let it go and create victims on its own
Mhm.
accord? Either way, I am condemning someone to a terrible fate.
A very, very terrible fate. Like, yeah.
Will typically enter a dormant state after finishing with a lure subject. In addition, subjects may administrator clearance accepted. At site, there was a major containment breach. As per protocol, all D-class on site were immediately terminated. Approximately 37 minutes into the breach, SCP-106 broke containment. A member of MTF Ninetail Fox, badly wounded by SCP-939, willingly sacrificed himself to recontain SCP-106. Agent was restrained in the containment cell and had his femur forcibly broken.
Oh my god. Oh.
Yup.
Oh my god, bro.
Audio follows. SCP-106 was successfully recontained. Agent was posthumously awarded the Foundation Star for his bravery. And that concludes SCP-106. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's an instance, and this is one of those few or rare instances where someone took it upon themselves to partake of a moment of self-sacrifice for the betterment of the situation. It's rare that you're going to find a situation where someone will volunteer to let themselves go through such a terrible ordeal. But it is one of those moments where there is no ethical quandary created because someone says, I will take it upon myself to suffer the terrible fate to make things better for everyone else. There's a member of the Foundation himself saying, I know what has to be done here. I'm going to die because they said he had been wounded by another SCP.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than saying, well, I'm going to try to get medical help and, stay alive, they said, well, I'm damaged possibly beyond fixing. Can my death be used for a noble purpose? It's self-sacrifice. And this is something else that the Foundation is not as broadly known for, but does help in making them seem less brutal and inhuman as an organization, is they understand the concept of self-sacrifice. And they will do what is necessary. They will throw their own lives away in exchange for the defense and betterment of mankind.
Yeah. As far as SCP-106, man, yeah, I mean, you're literally going to succumb to literal hell and whatever literal hell he wants to succumb you to. And the pocket dimension we'll get into further in these other videos. The next one I was going to ask Byron.
Yes.
We're currently running at 12:25. And we've already been up an hour. How long? I mean, are you good?
I'm good for now.
Okay.
I wanted to take a quick moment to step aside and touch back upon that reference that you and Mr. Reaction made before.
Yep.
Now, you had a stream, I think it was about a month and a half ago, where you were discussing a video game trailer for a game that you had been interested in. That was a game called Scorn.
Yep.
Which you had played the trailer for the viewing audience, and I was in a kind of my own personal hellscape because I was listening to you guys while I was driving home, so I couldn't comment upon the trailer that you were playing. Scorn is a video game for various systems that has no spoken dialogue. It's a very bizarre kind of first-person adventure game that features a great deal of bioorganic material and textures. It's a blend of flesh and blood and muscle and machines, and there's a grotesquerie there, a body horror. And I remember listening to you play the trailer and thinking, my God, the people who made that game selected the best possible person to do the narration or voiceover for that trailer. And do you know why?
Why?
Because the person who they had doing the voiceover for the trailer was none other than the immortal Doug Bradley, Who's Doug Bradley? He's the gentleman who played the part of Pinhead, the Hell Priest from the
Oh boy.
Hellraiser series of films based on the Hellbound Heart novella by Clive Barker. And he played the chief of the Cenobites. He was the head priest of the
Yep.
Cenobites. And what are the Cenobites? They are human demonic souls infused with bone and blood and leather and metal. They are themselves bioorganic demonic creatures from the realm of the Leviathan. And I wanted to tell you guys, like, you have just wrapped this whole connection up without quite touching upon the most fascinating component of it all, that they chose this man to do the voiceover, and it's such a perfect selection, and it went over everybody's head. I just thought, oh God, I'm such a nerd. I wish I was there to point this out. I missed that opportunity.
I didn't think about it, but you're right. Yeah.
I'm glad to be able to bring that up now, to go back and kind of steamroll it forward. Stream of
That's
consciousness
wild to think
back into
about.
that. It is. And, I'm very glad to have done it. But the reason I thought about that is because we're talking about pocket dimensions with SCP-106. The concept of a fey space or fairy space, as it's referred to in old Celtic mythology,
Right.
and in various other cultural mythologies, including Norse mythology and the pantheism. We are contending with a creature that uses its own space. The Leviathan from the Hellraiser series exists not in hell, but in its own separate pocket dimension, where it draws in the physical entities, who it then turns into Cenobites in its own pocket
Which is
space.
a very disgusting process.
Horrific. I will be right back. I have to hit the loo again. Thank you for letting
You're
me
good.
spew off on that one.
Oh, you're good, man. Definitely thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, it's a pretty wild one to bring up. I didn't think about it until he brought it up. I'm like, wow, he's right. So as far as SCP-106, y'all, does anybody have any questions, anything, feel free to ask. Jasmine says, your brain is an absolute other dimension, Byron. Scuba said, nope, nope, nope. Had to mute stream due to a longer phone call. You're good, Miss Luck. Yeah, it's wild, especially SCP-106. That is pretty freaking disgusting. Yeah, it really is. SCP-106, man, that's a scary entity. Like, the pocket dimension that it lures you into and takes you into is like my well, I shouldn't say theory, but my perception of it is basically a darkened hell is my description of it. Like, it's you're basically dragged in there and yeah, you're played with and tortured until until consumption.
It's like a cat with a mouse. You know how they'll bat it
Pretty much.
around and play with it, let it think it's going to escape, and then claw it back and rip it apart? It's a similar kind of mindset and mentality we seem to have with this creature.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like his version of your own personal hell. Sorta.
I wouldn't say so, because we have the Foundation stating very clearly in the documentation that the observation machines and cameras that they've put in always seem to come back with the same kind of findings. That the interior pocket space is a series of corridors and rooms that are not necessarily furnished or occupied, but it has not the exact same every time configuration, but a similar configuration each and every time. So it's not personalized to the victim. It's personalized to SCP-106.
The what he wants it to be.
Right. He has
Yeah.
crafted his own ideal hunting ground.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to, if I may, on another tangent,
I'll be right back because I have food coming. So
sure thing. I'll
I'm
take the
gonna disappear
opportunity
real
to
quick. Yep.
nerd out here. We've got in the material that I was looking through, what I found the closest approximation comes from this Epic Tales compilation anthology from Flame Tree Press, or Flame Tree Publishing, the Native American folklore. SCP-106 reminds me somewhat of a tale from this compilation referred to as Otanji, the Betrayed. This is an Ojibwe tribe myth. It discusses an elder who is a member of a small clan. He's trying to caution the members of his clan against doing trade with these foreigners who have come from overseas. Effectively, don't trade with the white man, especially for their weapons, because this particular tribe of Ojibwe, this specific clan, their weapons were all made of bone and wood and stone. They were still connected very much culturally to Mother Earth. And they did not want to use weapons or materials that were crafted by machinery, that were created through artificial means, and did not give honor or homage to the source material from which they were crafted, saying these weapons were made without honor or without respect for Mother Earth. But members of this small clan of his decided, well, this elder, this Otanji, he's so old-fashioned, he's stuck in his old ways. We need to move forward because these people are here. We're not going to get rid of them. They're now part of our world. So they make trade anyway for a handful of these weapons, these guns. And as some of the younger warriors and hunters of the tribe are out gathering animals on a hunt one day, the elder's son is killed by an accidental discharge from one of these weapons. And the elder Otanji is infuriated. He had warned them against using these weapons of metal that did not pay any honor or homage to the earth from which the materials were used to craft them. And he swears vengeance upon these fools within his own clan who did not heed his wisdom. He swears vengeance upon the white men who traded these weapons to his people. And he is filled with this impotent rage. He doesn't know what to do with it. And because he does not want to be stuck in this anger, he separates from the clan for a while to meditate. While meditating, he is approached by a serpent spirit, by a snake spirit. And the snake spirit offers to aid him in attaining his vengeance by fusing with Otanji and becoming a separate new creature. And the spirit's venom can melt the metal of these weapons. So the elder agrees to this pact to get his vengeance for the death of his son. And he becomes this hunter creature fused with the snake spirit. And he sneaks back into his clan's temporary setup and uses the venom of the snake spirit to melt down, to corrode, and destroy these weapons. But the spirit it's hungry because it's now fused with a man, and it hungers. It needs physical food. So in order to finish getting his vengeance on the fools who traded for these weapons, Otanji then goes and sprays this venom on the people in his clan who traded for the weapons and devours them, literally digests them with this venom and then eats them. And then using their shadows, the snake spirit steals the shadows of these dead men and uses the shadows to move unseen through the shadow realm to infiltrate the nearby township where these white men were from, and comes up out of the shadows and poisons and devours them to complete his vengeance. This lore, this myth, strikes me as having similar ties because of the methodology of hunting and preying upon these people with the use of the serpent spirit's venom. The fact that it's noted in the myth that the reason he accepted this deal with the spirit is because it told him that its venom could break down the metal of these weapons, and these weapons are the source of Otanji's mourning, his sadness, his grief that his son was killed by one of these weapons. So it's not the men alone who he wants vengeance upon. He wants vengeance upon these weapons because they are so antithetical to the ways of his people for so many generations. So he agrees to fuse with this spirit to get help in exacting his revenge. Thank you, Jasmine. I appreciate that. Which is a call, I think, or a kind of a parallel to the black mucus of the old man. It's used to corrode and break down materials up to and including metal. And similar to the old man, the Otanji spirit fused, or the Otanji elder fused with this serpent spirit. It hungers, so it devours the very men who created the grief for Otanji himself when he was still a man. Obviously, it's not an exact parallel. It's not a direct tie between the two stories, but one can definitely see the influence upon the SCP Foundation, and an article that was crafted for inclusion into the wiki could potentially come from someplace like this or some similar tale. We find that as we look through the various mythologies and stories that we share amongst various cultures throughout time, we find these little ties that bind. It's why I think there's such a tie between different cultures. It's because we tell similar stories. The details may vary from culture to culture, tribe to tribe, family to family, but the fact remains there are definitely parallels that can be drawn from one story to the other.
How's it going, everybody? My apologies.
No worries,
My
brother.
brief absence.
I've been droning on, so we're good to go.
So, what's everybody think about SCP-106? Creepy, right?
Definitely the most unpleasant elder relative one could have.
Definitely. I could say the same for that, yeah. That guy, I wouldn't exactly be inviting him to any family barbecues.
Fuck no,
Barbecue.
I'd rather deal with the racist grandma.
The racist grandma.
Everyone has that racist older member of their family who you invite them over for Thanksgiving with a gag order. You tell them you can come for biscuits and gravy and turkey, but as soon as someone mentions an African American athlete, shut your mouth, Grandma. We don't want to hear it.
Oh my god. So this next video we got coming here.
Saying they make so much money, you'd think they
could stop right now before you say something that will get us canceled, Grandma.
Well, I don't know why we should be so worried about it. We're in our own home.
Because Tommy's over there recording something for fucking Snapchat, and someone's going to overhear you and spread it around. It's going to be the most viral fucking thing anybody sees show up on Twitter, and then you're going to wind up with a hashtag, cancel Grandma.
On TikTok.
TikTok, let's do a dance. Grandma's a racist.
I'm weak. I'm weak. Oh my god. Yeah. Racist grandma, everybody.
I'm just saying those Saxons need to stay back in Britain.
Grandma, you can't even say that.
Why not? They're all white people. Because we're not even allowed to hate ourselves anymore, Grandma. Do you not understand this? I can't Italy is shaped like a boot because you can't fit that much bullshit in a tennis shoe without somebody telling me that I'm being horrific. Meanwhile, Tommy's behind me going, dude, I just got that whole thing on camera. Son of a bitch. Somebody kill Tommy.
Scuba Sam says, most definitely not something you want to wake up to. Definitely not. I don't even think you would wake up to it. It'd be way too late before you did wake up. So anyhow, we got the next video. It says SCP-096 versus SCP-106. I don't know. Should I go into this one yet? Because Shy Guy's another whole topic on his own.
Right. Shy Guy is another being that I think we should focus on sort of from the drop. Maybe we could make him the focus for tomorrow.
Yeah, we can do that. Maybe, how do I want to do this?
You're in the driver's seat, brother.
Because this is a pretty crazy video, and it kind of shows like what SCP-106 is capable of. But I think we'll hold off on that one, and we'll go with 096 tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, definitely show focus today on 106.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll focus on 096. And then next week, Thursday, we can begin with, okay, you folks now have a pretty good idea of our impressions of these two separate anomalous creatures. Let's take a look at what could potentially happen when you cross paths with these two creatures.
When the worlds collide. But
Yep.
Jasmine, she says, you guys, I'm out. Gotta head to Mom's for food. Much love to you all. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Well, thank you so much, Jasmine, for stopping by. We appreciate you here, and you're always showing love and keeping the vibe going. So much love to you, Jasmine. I hope you have a good day and a good meal with your mom.
And you make sure that if you decide you're going to grill for lunch, you use propane and propane accessories.
Appreciate the love, Jasmine. Oh, man. Yeah, I think I'm going to hold off on that one.
Not a problem. So, did you want to discuss with folks at all the current attempt towards Rumble, or?
So that one's still kind of in the works as far as like content goes. I mean, yeah, we can talk about it, touch base on it, but it is most definitely going to happen. I don't want to go too much into detail of what's going on. I mean, if you know, you know. I'm not going to say any further than that.
Right.
But yeah, me and Byron here, we've talked, and the direction I'm going to take this channel is to Rumble. Byron here showed me that the analytics alone have been far much better than they have been on YouTube, and I feel like we'd definitely be able to do a lot more over there.
Yes, there's certainly a great deal more creative elasticity. And it's not to say that we want to completely and forevermore abandon YouTube altogether, because there's an audience to reach in both places. But
I'll say this, we will do a stream here, but when it comes down to being more in depth on certain material, we're going to take it to Rumble just to keep our, basically our noses clean of any sort of like copyright trouble or anything that could potentially hurt us.
And it's not only copyright. YouTube has a policy regarding graphic gore or depictions of horrific material. And this is a big part of the reason why I've taken a lot of my own fictional material off of YouTube entirely. There are sequences in some of my Amelia City horror short stories that, while I might be able to get away with having that material on YouTube because it's fiction, I know for sure that it will not be promoted. It will not be tolerated for long. And there are certain characters in the Amelia City realm that I think would be viewed as quote unquote problematic. For instance, in the Amelia City stories, there is a character who becomes one of the creatures known as a stranger. Um, but in her story, art is life until it becomes death. This character, Sasha, is a trans woman, and that does play a role in the story, in her character development, and it's not portrayed positively by me. And I imagine that YouTube would take a look at that character and say, oh, so basically you're trying to turn her into a monster. Well, we think that that implies you're trying to say that trans people are monsters. No, I'm saying that because this individual is going through a horrific experience in a realm known to twist people's psyches, and that I've established as a place where human beings get turned into monsters as a result of their personal circumstances and their day to day lives, that no one is safe, not even people who are from a minority community. Even they can become monstrous. No one is exempt. But for the very short time that I had that story in its original audiobook format on YouTube, I got no views on it. And eventually I said, okay, well, this is strange. I wonder if it's been either shadow banned or suppressed or what have you. I don't know. But the fact of the matter remains, no traffic was generated to it, even though I have close to 600 subscribers. Are you telling me, YouTube, that nobody was sent a notification about this video going out there and being
Right.
for view? Yet the video that I did just a few weeks ago telling YouTube, basically, dear YouTube, fuck off. Somehow 220 some odd people saw that video when I added no tags, no description. I didn't tag any individuals in it. That somehow made its way out to 220 plus people. No, you're fucking with me. You're trying to manipulate me to return to or stay on the platform. Piss off.
Mm-hmm.
So because we want to have that artistic and creative freedom, we will be taking some of this material and emigrating over to Rumble with it.
And have the freedom we want to express.
Correct. In order to say, oh, this creature, you think it's horrific right now? Let's examine the details and specifics. When it reaches up inside your intestines and grabs your large intestine and starts to pull it out slowly, feeding it into its own mouth.
Damn.
That's not going to necessarily go over well on YouTube. Rumble, there's not exactly a huge audience for that kind of niche material that we're presenting here just yet. But the fact of the matter is, there won't be an audience there for it until someone is presenting that material to find that audience. And that's something else that we're attempting to do, is engage people who don't want to just be in a socio-political echo chamber, because right now that sort of material is what gets a lot of views on Rumble. There's a reason why Steven Crowder gets a huge following on Rumble. It's because he focuses on politics and social events and news of the day. That's not what we do. We're nerds. We're hobbyists who enjoy talking about creepy shit, video games, mythology, folklore.
And that's the thing, like even like Warhammer, like there's a lot of things I could cover about Warhammer I do not think I could cover on here right now.
Oh yeah. Deus Volt, motherfucker. You know? There's a reason.
Or hell, I don't know if you're familiar with the comic series, Byron, but there's a particular comic series, it's called Crossed.
Nope,
oh man. I don't even know if Rumble will let me talk about it. It's pretty bad.
And here's the thing, we don't know yet what you can or can't get away with on Rumble. All we know right now is that the ceiling for what you can get away with talking about on YouTube in terms of gore, horror, science fiction, and
it is very much
concepts,
horror.
Okay. Well, we know that on YouTube, the ceiling for what's permissible or allowable or safe for families and advertisers who can kiss my dick, the ceiling's pretty low. You hit your head on that ceiling pretty quick. All right. There's a reason why you can't find some of the great old science fiction, dark sci fi, dark fantasy material in audiobook format on YouTube. It's because they literally won't let you get away with it. Welcome to Night Vale as a podcast used to have a very successful YouTube channel. They had to, about a year ago, go back and delete almost half of their episodes because the material was deemed too disturbing for public advertisers.
It
I'm
makes me
sorry.
wonder because I
You're
had
gonna
Quake 2. I had a playthrough of Quake 2, and that's very gory. Like the PSX port of it, like the PlayStation 1 port of it. And
right.
yeah, like I was running around just killing Strogg with the super shotgun, which is like a pump action double barrel, and it literally blows Strogg into pieces. And yeah, I could never imagine that video being monetized.
Right. Like you're gonna sit here and say that I can't talk about otherworldly Lovecraftian horrors coming from the deep depths of space and sucking the sanity out of from the forehead of some poor victim because that's too disturbing. But if I click on somebody's video on YouTube and they happen to be, a big account, I can hear them drone on and on for a minute and a half about Raid Shadow Legends. How much are
Oh
they paying
god.
you to promote that fucking pachinko machine in the form of a mobile game? You know, totally get addicted to our, multiplayer game that you have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to succeed in, but don't talk about Eldritch Harbors.
Pretty much.
Where
Let's openly talk about a giant fucking Ponzi scam, but let's not talk about the
right,
simple fact of I don't know, something that actually like isn't going to cost you money and is actually interesting.
right. Like, why are you okay with Pepsi, with Coca-Cola putting an advertisement in front of someone's video? Coca-Cola, which, by the way, if you put it in a glass and throw a penny in there after about a couple of hours, somehow it will eat away all of the wear and tear and grime on that penny. God knows what it's doing to your insides. But
Hey,
you're not
cheers.
right. Exactly, buddy. But you're not allowed to talk about a creature from the depths of space that uses a black inky mucus to break down the organic material of its victims before it ingests them, because that could be too disturbing for a general audience.
Even though they're supposed to be like adult themed, like, adult themed like themes and topics, but hey, even though we want to go and dive into that, it's like, well, it's just too graphic. We're sorry, but we're gonna have to take that right away. it's
Exactly.
too it's too offensive, too scary for the children and adults.
Right. It's like, well, you shouldn't have a kid sat in front of this material anyway. We
No.
we're not exactly cussing like sailors, but we do occasionally indulge in some graphic language, and we talk about things that are
Hmm.
unpleasant. Look at the SCP Foundation as a whole. There's a lot of unpleasantness in here, and
Like,
it's
case in point, we were
classic.
literally just talking about sacrificing somebody to this being.
Right. Human adult sacrifice is a component of trying to make sure you keep this thing from getting out into the wider world and victimizing untold thousands of people to its appetites, which are obviously sick and depraved and deranged.
Hmm.
You don't want to let us
And
talk about that.
probably unsatiable.
Right, because obviously, as we said, it doesn't have a digestive schedule. We
Right.
don't know what its schedule is for eating. We just know it,
Yeah.
it enjoys the
It's not
hunt.
exactly a diet, it just does what it wants. But, that's the thing about it, is like they don't want us to talk about anything that's, I guess, too out there for their guidelines. But,
Right.
it kind of kills me because it's like we have that section where it's like adults only, children, and what the content's catered to. But it's
Right.
like at this point, like, what's the point of it?
Well, right. It's like, okay, is this going to be family friendly material? Well, obviously not. Well,
Right.
then we can't advertise on it. We don't care about not being able to advertise or monetize. At least that's not my concern. I don't give a
No.
damn. However, if we're trying to reach an audience or develop an audience of folks who do enjoy this material, who want to be entertained by something creepy or weird or horrific or bizarre with elements of science fiction and horror and the fantastical, there's an audience craving that material. And there's not enough people providing that material on a place like Rumble. They haven't developed that material base yet. And that's something that we can do, that we can provide something outside of what's expected out of a typical Rumble channel.
Hmm.
Gaming as well. And this is going to be a big one for you, brother. Gaming seems to be gaining a lot of ground, a
I'm
lot of
actually
good
looking at
traction
gaming right now.
on Rumble. And you do
Yep.
a lot of gaming and
That I
gaming
do.
streams. That sort of material is successful on Rumble because there's an audience that's hungry for it. On YouTube, gaming is sort of given like, we want it here, sure, to kind of compete with Twitch somewhat. But we're not going to focus on it. We're not going to promote it. Okay, but then you're leaving lots of users kind of twitching in the wind because the audience wants that. Why
Right.
would you not give the audience what they want?
Mm-hmm.
The only reason you would not give the audience what it wants is because you're pushing some kind of ideological agenda or you're worried about advertisers.
Correct.
Piss on all that. If there's someone who wants that kind of story, they deserve that kind of story. Give it to them.
And that kind of goes back to what I was saying about Crossed. Like, it's such an amazing like series of comics. Super dark and like I wouldn't recommend everybody to check it out, but if you like super dark horror, that takes a serious turn and makes you think, I highly recommend it.
Right. Like there are folks for whom that sort of material is right up their alley. To go off on another tangent, if you'll allow me,
Go for it.
that reminds me of back in 2015, Barnes and Noble across in all of its locations across the United States and in many locations in the United Kingdom, they removed their horror section from their bookshelves and they combined it with thriller and suspense. This ended up leading to an overall reduction between 2015 to 2020 over a 5-year period. All horror book sales decreased across the United States and in the UK for Barnes & Noble by approximately 48%. And the suspense and thriller genre category in their stores also saw a massive reduction of a loss of 23% sales loss. In 2020, they reintroduced the division between horror and suspense. Horror section sales didn't go back up all that much. They only bumped back up about 16% in 2021 to current. But the thriller and suspense category returned back to pre-2015 level for sales. When you try to mix and match and hide horror, you may be trying to remove whatever stigma there is attached to that as a genre, but you're going to end up hurting thriller and suspense and psychological horror because they don't belong lumped together with basically novelizations of things like Friday the 13th or similar material. There is a niche audience for horror for a reason. People enjoy it, so offer them that selection. Don't mix it in with thriller and suspense because folks are going to feel like either you don't care about their genre or they're going to feel like you're painting everything in this vein with a broad brush. It's not
Mhm.
thriller or suspense. When you've got body horror kind of material like Jacob Westerly's The Creatures, that book doesn't belong in suspense and thriller. It's about people being mutated by a weird, fucked up pharmaceutical drug and turned into giant humanoid cockroaches and eating
Oh
their neighbors,
God.
attacking and eating their neighbors. It's body horror at its purest in novel format. That's horror. It doesn't belong in suspense and thrillers where you've got a serial killer who's stalking the streets of the city. You're not doing Ed McBain any favors by throwing this book in there next to his.
Yeah, like I could talk about Crossed, like the brief introduction of Crossed is a virus breaks out in the US and I believe everywhere else. And the people that get infected by this virus, well, they're not exactly zombies, but they can infect people. However, they act on their deepest and darkest desires. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie The Crazies exactly.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so take that scenario, but make it 10 times worse.
So it not only removes their inhibitions, but enhances them.
Yeah. And they result to many features of dark, twisted thinking, like, for instance, cannibalism. Cannibalism to, well, I mean, pretty obvious ones that involve sexual innuendos.
Yup. I can imagine.
Yeah. Basically, it's like basically takes everybody gets infected and turns them to your absolute most disgusting, vile version of themselves that you could possibly think of.
Unleashing their id,
Mhm.
magnified to the nth degree. That's a concept from psychoanalysis, the id, the ego, and the superego. The id is effectively, according to Jung and Freud, the inner selfish child, the lizard brain in each and every one of us that just selfishly desires what it wants right now, all the time, every time, damned be the consequences.
And like I said, they're not exactly zombies. They are infected, yes. They could still operate firearms. They could still operate vehicles. Yeah, I mean it.
Human apex predators, in other words,
Yeah,
without a moral or ethical compass.
at all. They even turn on each other at times when they're that desperate enough. They turn on each other, and you like basically discover this whole like ruined US, even like other parts of the planet, like other countries are going through the same thing, and you have like a small survivor group that's just going through the US, and like every time they run into like a city they find a like all these people that are quote unquote cross, they literally have a cross on their face, like it's like burned and etched into their skin.
So this
That's
is
what.
like it's a physiological manifestation
Yeah,
showing that they are infected.
yeah,
Okay.
like there was one part of the comic where this cop arrests one of them, detains him in the back of a squad car, and he starts saying all this vile, sick, and disgusting things to him. The cop gets close enough, and the cross in the back of the squad car spits in his face, and that cop then starts to undergo changes and starts saying really disgusting things, and then they wind up shooting him.
I gotta find an issue, a copy of this.
Oh yeah,
Sounds like my kind of thing.
it is insane.
It's the removal of the normal human filters.
Absolutely. The thing that would hold you back is no longer there.
Right. We've seen this sort of thing crop up in some of the best fiction out there. I'm put in mind of an episode of Batman the Animated Series back in the late 90s. In the, I think it was the third or fourth season. It was after they had basically visually turned Jonathan Crane almost into a kind of zombie preacher looking thing from out of Eldritch Horrors. And in this episode, he develops a new gas, a new serum that rather than preying upon someone's fears, completely removes their fear from them. And the first person he tests it out on is Bruce Wayne. He doesn't realize that Bruce is, Batman, but he shoots him with the pellet and it, releases the gas. And after a moment, Bruce just kind of stands there. And on the other side of this, like, enclosure is where Scarecrow is standing. And between them is some kind of river or stream or something with a crocodile in it. And Bruce just goes walking up to the water with the snapping crocodile and dives in after it. And a few moments later, this pool of blood floats up to the surface, and Scarecrow goes, "Well, that's what you get, tough guy," because he wanted to expose that without fear, we are more than likely going to end up getting ourselves killed. If people think having fear is bad, imagine if people had no fear. They would completely destroy themselves. And that was the angle he was taking on this episode. Obviously, he went after he leaves. They cut away, or rather, they cut back to show that Bruce is the one who comes up out of the water. It's the crocodile who's dead, been destroyed. And I remember thinking it was a gruesome episode because, like, as Bruce is walking away, they show the crocodile float up, belly up, with its neck like snapped at an angle. It was one of the most brutal scenes in the animated series that they ever put on television. They only showed it once. Every other time they aired that episode on TV, they cut away after Bruce starts walking away from the stream. They don't show they don't show the dead crocodile because there were so many parent complaints about displaying the concept that Batman will kill. If he's not afraid of the consequences morally or ethically, he will kill.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a similar concept, a tie-in to that mythological question that
kind of passes into SCP-106 though too. Kind of the same like concept. He doesn't. Yeah.
He has no ethical boundaries, no moral compass.
Mm-mm.
And the
hunger to satiate, he just does it.
Right. The question becomes philosophically, what would you become if we removed that ethical framework from you?
I don't even want to know.
Fascinating stuff, though.
Yeah, there's even like certain infected in the comic book series where like they'll literally have like a severed hand or like they'll have severed legs and they'll be in a wheelchair but they'll still be hunting people. It's insane. Like
the flesh is damaged, but the spirit is willing.
Yeah, there's literal points where they are actually bare naked, still hunting. It's bad. There's no way that they could ever make a movie out of this comic series. There's no way.
They don't have to adapt it. Some things are best left in their original medium.
There's no, like, you don't really have to make it, like, play by play. That's the funny, fascinating part about it. You don't have to make it like a live adaptation. You could literally make whatever movie you want with this concept. That's the beauty of the comic series, but, I feel like there were, like, attempts of it, like I said, the Crazies, like the one with, Timothy Oliphant, I think it's his last name, how you pronounce it?
Timothy Oliphant.
Oliphant, there you go. Yep. And they did actually manage to make a not really a spin-off, but I should say what am I trying to say here? Like, basically, it was inspired by the comic book series. It was a Taiwanese movie.
Okay, like an approximation?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's called The Sadness. And it happens in Taiwan. a virus eventually breaks out, and people's like their pupils and their whole eyeball goes black when they're infected. They start giggling and start laughing. Next thing you know, they start like stabbing people and whatnot. But it's not clear how the infection actually starts or like how it happens, how it's even transmitted. Everything just kind of happens. Like there's like one point in the movie where the main character sees this grandmother like standing on top of a building in like a kind of like a nurse like a hospital gown, and she's just standing there like oddly. And then later on, he goes into like a restaurant to get like a coffee, and the guy behind the counter is making a bunch of food. He's like deep frying food. He's cooking food on like a big griddle. This old lady comes in with like a hospital gown, and then looks at the guy behind the counter. Basically smashes his head into this like window where the deep fryer vats are, pulls out the deep fryer basket, dumps it on the guy's head, and starts peeling his cheek off.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's one hell of an evolution of the Hamburglar.
Yeah, I'm like, geez, man.
Hamburger, flesh.
Pretty much. No, I take it back. She spits in his face, then breaks the window, grabs the fryer basket, and then just dumps it on his forehead. And then starts starts attempting to peel his cheek off with her fingers.
Finger looking good.
Oh my god, it was horrible.
Anyhow, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to wrap it here, brother.
No, we're good. We're about to go on 2 hours. We're at 1 hour and 43 minutes. SCP-106, we are going to continue tomorrow with Shy Guy, and then possibly dive into Shy Guy or the Old Man versus Shy Guy.
Yep, SCP-096 versus
Yep.
SCP-106 after an introduction to SCP-096,
Yeah.
the Shy Guy.
Don't look at me, but look at me.
Oh
I
my
think
god.
of SCP-096 as like the future worst case development or evolution of these Instagram thoughts. Saying,
let me give like at least a brief sneak peek of who Shy Guy is. So,
yeah, no, I understand.
I'm just gonna throw a picture up. Just so you know what you're looking at or what you're gonna be prepared for.
If you're heading out scuba, thank you for stopping in, honey. We appreciate the love and the sharing of the link and the constantly cheerleading for us. It is deeply appreciated.
For sure. And there you go. There he is right there.
Don't look at me, but look at me.
Yep. Mr. Shy Guy. I don't even know if it's a Mr. We just know it's Shy Guy.
Right. They just kind of say Shy Guy. No, we don't have to worry about somebody saying, hey, you're misgendering me when it comes to Shy Guy. It's more a matter of, oh, you saw a glimpse of my face? I'm going to eat you now.
Well, that really tear you apart.
I'm going to tear through any and every barrier to get at you and utterly destroy your physical being.
I wonder if you could like go to space and look at his picture.
Oh, there is a story within the SCP wiki that I'll touch upon tomorrow where, yeah, somebody at a deep space station caught a glimpse of a picture of SCP-096. 096 broke containment and absconded to Texas, where it stowed away onto a test rocket that was being launched to the ISS, the International Space Station, where somebody had accidentally glimpsed a picture of it. It broke onto the facility and tracked him down and tore him apart.
Oh my god.
Nothing will stop it from getting to its prey. It'll figure out a way to get there.
That
We'll
is
dive into that
insane.
tomorrow. We'll dive into all that tomorrow. Judo
That
chop.
is insane. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to think now.
If there are barriers, it will figure them out, which is, and again, we'll touch on this more tomorrow, but part of what convinced me some time ago that 096 is not unintelligent. It has the capacity for reasoning or rationale. It will figure out how to overcome obstacles put between it and its prey. And that's part of what makes the Shy Guy one of the more disastrously terrifying examples of anomalous beings dealt with by the Foundation.
But with that being said, we're gonna end it here.
Yep.
To anybody who's still watching, thank you all so much for stopping by. We will continue more of this tomorrow, probably around the same time. What would you say, Byron?
Probably right around the same bat time, same bat channel. It's 10:30 Minnesota time, 11:30 Michigan time. The reason I bring that up is because our host and peer brother Cortex is in Michigan. I myself am in Minnesota.
Yep.
So more monstrosities from the Midwest coming at you to kind of do a tagline there from Scott Burtness. He is a fellow independent horror storyteller, and I'm going to take this opportunity at the end here to promote him. He is a great colleague and a tremendously amusing genre fiction storyteller whose works are available on Amazon if that's where you choose to get your books from. The first in his Midwestern Monsters series is available currently on sale for only $4.99 for download in ebook format from Amazon.com. And it's titled Wisconsin Vamp by Scott Burtness. So head on over there, give him some love, and show him your support with the download of his premiere novel, Wisconsin Vamp.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, without further ado, y'all, if you like what you saw, please drop a comment down below. Don't forget the like button, and do not forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. We will be going live tomorrow at the same time. And yeah, much love, guys. We're out here.
Cheers.
All right.